The thing about Cake is it's all about uncompromised indulgence. It's got the best of everything, all the top-notch ingredients, the cream, the butter, the sugar, it's all top shelf stuff. And that's what makes a Cake really good. And in a way, it's a little bit like a big adventure bike. You want the full power, the excellent suspension, you want comfort, you want all the toys, you want everything that you can pack into two wheels if you're going to go for big scale road adventures. Now, we've got here the Ducati Multistrada V4S, and this was MCN's Litre Plus Adventure Bike of the Year in 2025, and it still holds the crown. It's absolutely brimming with all the toys and all the tech, everything that a top-notch adventure bike should have for going off on road-based adventures. Now, as well as the Multistrada, we've got the R1300GS. Now, BMW's Boxer twin adventure has been absolutely at the top of the list since it was first introduced way back when we were all just twinkles in the milkman's eye. The GS stands for Gelanderstrasse, which basically means road, off-road in a very loose translation, but it could very well stand for the gold standard of adventure bikes, because this has absolutely been up there since day one, and it is still punching really hard. Now, as well as these two established bikes, we've got the brand new KTM 1390 Super Adventure S. Now, this is fresh on the streets. They've only just started to hit showrooms. So we've brought it out along with these two bikes to see if the new KTM can actually challenge for the crown. Now, all of these are the road dedicated variants of these bikes. They've all got 19-inch front wheels, dedicated road tyres. That's what these bikes are all about. So, welcome to MCN, welcome to the big road adventure test, and we're going to see if these bikes have got what it takes to be top of the tree, and if we really can have our cake and eat it. First up, we've got the Ducati Multistrada V4S Travel and Radar. Now, these are in the showrooms at £24,705 in this trim. It puts out 167 brake horsepower, and with its 22-litre tank fully brimmed, it weighs 267 kilos at the curb. Next up, we've got the BMW R1300GS. This is the TE version in option 719 trim, so it's fully loaded with extras. £25,620 in the showroom, puts out 143 horsepower, and with the 19-litre tank fully brimmed, you're looking at 266 kilos at the curb. And our third bike is the KTM 1390 Super Adventure S. This one has the tech pack fitted, and that takes the grand total to £18,176. The KTM puts out 173 bhp, and with that big 23-litre tank brimmed, it weighs 247 kilos at the curb. So each one of these bikes has covered 500 miles on test through all kinds of varied conditions, and it's really given us a chance to see where they shine and where they don't. So what I'm going to do is talk about each bike individually and how they've fared, and then we're going to come to the verdict after that. So first of all, I want to talk about the Multistrada V4S. Now, as we've already said, this is the travel and radar version, so it is packed with some extra goodies over the standard Multistrada. But the essence of this bike on test, what the Multistrada has really shown us is that basically it's a super bike in adventure bike trim. The V4 motor is absolutely stonking, but it's also incredibly smooth. It's very tractable, it's very easy to get on with, but it does make a huge amount of power when you want it to. Suspension-wise, it's got the Skyhook suspension, and Ducati have been developing this for a good decade now, and there's very little I can say in a negative way about the way the Multistrada handles. It's an absolute joy, but at the same time, it's a very serious machine. It feels like a special bike to ride, and it makes you feel that bit special as well. In terms of comfort, well, I've got absolutely no problems with this at all. The riding position is really nice. The only thing I do find a little bit awkward is that my left heel rubs on the swing arm. It's all right most of the time until the road does start to get a bit bumpy and the suspension really starts working hard. That's probably a me thing and the way I have my foot on the pegs, but all the same, it was consistent, and it's not something that I felt with the other bike. So I just wanted to mention that. While I'm on things that I don't like about the Multistrada, all of these bikes are keyless. but the Multistrada is the least keyless of them, if that makes sense. The ignition works without you having to put the key in a slot, but you need to use the key if you want to fill up with fuel, if you want to remove the seat, if you want to get in the panniers. So apart from having a hot start button, it's a bit pointless, the keyless system on the Ducati. Screen. So all of these have got adjustable screens. 2 of them are manual. The Ducati being one of those that has the manual screen. It's really easy to use because it's just got that lift up and down system that you can do one-handed on the go. The screen is effective. It does take the wind blast off of you and it does make you feel cocooned behind it. The dash is fantastic on the Ducati. It's really nicely done. And with the switchgear, the menus, getting into them, changing all the parameters of the suspension, the engine, and all the way the bike behaves, it's really easy to do and it's really intuitive. Just to give you an idea, one of our testers on this, Adam, he managed to scroll through the menus, work out the heated grips and the heated seat through one cycle of traffic lights. And that's without reading the manual or anything. It just sort of fell to hand and he felt really confident going through it and making those changes. In terms of the things you can do through the dash, it's mind-blowing. It's almost mind-blowing how many different parameters and different levels you can actually change on this bike. But I'm not going to get bogged down in that because we've had the most fun riding them just in the stock modes. So what is this Ducati actually like on the road? Well, I've likened it to a superbike and it feels like that. It always holds a line really well. You feel really confident when you're going through a turn on the Ducati. It absolutely works really nicely with you. And with the power of the engine, the riding position, the poise, you can ride this thing fast. It's a fast motorcycle. So brakes, of course, it's got Brembo brakes and there's no shortage of stopping power. ABS and link brakes, interestingly, when you go for the rear brake, it applies the front as well. And there was maybe 1 or 2 times when we were going through a turn, using a dab of rear brake and you could feel the front as well. And there's just a slight tendency for the bike to stand up slightly when you do that. But it's only a very, very minor point. I mentioned that this is quite a serious bike though. And of the 3 we've got here, it is the most serious in terms of your attitude and the way you ride the Multistrada. And what I mean by that is it takes a bit of time to gel with it. It's not one of those bikes you can just jump on, instantly make sense and go. You need to dial into the Multistrada. That's not a negative. It gives you something to work towards when you are riding one of these bikes. And that's part of the satisfaction in carving up bends on this. We're going to move on to the bike that started the whole thing off in the first place, the BMW GS. And the R1300GS is the latest version of that. Now, when the rest of the motorcycle industry decided that telescopic forks, conventional swing arm, chain drive was the best way to go, BMW basically said, hold my beer, I've got 4 words for you. Paralever, telelever, and shaft drive. That combination of technology that's in the BMW, it's a completely different riding experience to either of the other bikes we've got here and almost any other bike, barring BMWs, out on the road. It works in such a way that the bike is automatically self-leveling. It doesn't need trick suspension to keep the bike flying straight and level. And if you've never ridden one of these, it's one of the most amazing experiences because it takes away all the pitching. I mean, John, one of the other riders here, described the way it rolls through a bend rather than pitches backwards and forwards. And that's really what it does. When you're going from a quick left, right, left, whatever you're going through, the BMW stays absolutely level and it just rocks and rolls from side to side. The low center of gravity, the way the suspension works, the way the engine sits really low with that boxer twin, everything is low down. And as a result, the handling is incredibly precise, incredibly confident as well. Anytime you jump on one of these, all it does is build up your confidence so that you can point it into a bend, throw it onto its side and know that the bike is going to track accurately right through that bend without wavering at all. So as part of this test, we haven't just gone out to ride the roads of Shropshire, we've actually done a controlled experiment to try and get really accurate economy figures. So what I did was put each bike through a 160-mile route, exactly the same route for each bike, at exactly the same time of day, And it's quite interesting how close it turned out to be. The BMW was actually the most frugal. 42.6 mpg is what we recorded, and that's pretty respectable for a big bike like that. The Multistrada came in at 41.7 mpg, so only slightly behind the BMW. The KTM, a little bit lagging on that. That was 38.8 miles per gallon. They're all pretty much within the same ballpark, but when we come to the verdict, I think we'll be able to get more of a picture on the disparity in those MPG figures. Now, that's all very interesting, but what's more interesting is how quick each bike covered that route. Now, I wasn't racing, I wasn't trying to do it as fast as possible, I was just trying to keep at a progressive pace, let's say. So the most interesting thing of all was that the GS actually covered the distance quicker than the others with less fuss. It wasn't something I expected at the start. I expected the Multistrada to be the one that would do that, but the BMW, most frugal and covers distance quickest. So it's worth mentioning some of the electronics and creature comforts, the rider stuff that really matters to you when you're doing distance work on the BMW. It's got an electric screen. It's the only bike with an electric screen, and BMW know how to make a screen. It looks quite small compared with some of the sort of the other GSs, the GSA, the RT, various other BMWs, but it's no less effective. And it operates through what we call the burger button. Basically, there's a favourites button on the BMW switchgear that you can select for being either heated grips or screen or any one of the other sort of attributes that you can change on the go. And the screen works really nicely on this. It's also got that traditional BMW click wheel and dash that we've been familiar with for so many years. Now, if you're already a BMW owner, it's the best thing in the world. And when you get a new BMW, you want it to have the click wheel, you want it to have that screen, and that's great. But when you take a step back and look at these three bikes sort of from a distance, it is starting to feel a bit long in the tooth. It's starting to feel a little bit old-fashioned compared with the touchscreen on the KTM or the intuitiveness and ease with which you can navigate the menus on the Ducati. That's all very well, but there's something about the BMW that lacks excitement. It's hugely capable, but it doesn't set your world on fire. In terms of everything else, the BMW is the pinnacle of GS evolution. It's really hard to say anything negative about this bike, but sometimes you can be too good. So we've got two bikes here that are absolutely on the top of their game, but there is a new kid on the block, and that's KTM's 1390 Super Adventure S. There are only two versions of this bike. There's the S version that we've got here, and there's the S Evo, which is the version with KTM's automatic manual transmission. That's a whole different story, but as a result, this bike doesn't have all the features that these two have. I get the feeling there's still some things in development. It's not available with Radar Cruise, which these two both have. And this particular one we got here doesn't have heated grips or a heated seat, which both of these have. Are we going to hold that against it? Well, no, we're not, because we already know that price-wise, the KTM comes in way cheaper than the other two. So the fact that it hasn't got those features, I'm not going to hold it against it. So what's the KTM like to ride? Well, the Austrian firm has this wonderful way of being able to engineer a particular passion into their bikes. They manage to refine it to be raw. I know that sounds like an oxymoron and goes against exactly what refinement means, but they do. They develop a bike to make it feel raw, to make it tickle the senses in a particular way. And as far as KTMs are concerned, they've absolutely hit it with this bike. So let's just have a look at the few bits. It's the most powerful bike on here. We know that already. It's got that stonking V-twin, and it is an absolute rip-roaring hoot of a ride when you twist that throttle. As one of the other guys here mentioned on test, it will lift the front wheel in fourth, and it will if you want it to, and you don't really need to try that hard. So like the other two bikes, the KTM has semi-active suspension, and it really changes its character with the different modes. You expect a different mode to make the bike feel different, but the KTM, more than the other two, takes on a different character, a different persona when you have it, say, in sport instead of street. It stiffens up the suspension in quite an aggressive way. Not in a bad aggressive way, in a good aggressive way that makes you really want to attack bends. Again, it's very sporty. Like the Multistrada, it's got this sports bike DNA, but it's that KTM hooligan feel that it has about it that there's no getting away from. It feels rawer than the other two. Okay, yeah, so to sort of sum up the KTM DNA that's in this bike, it's the sportiness, it's the instantness of it. It's the fact that it's all there when you want it to be, basically at the twist of a wrist. As a touring bike, it gives it a bit of a challenge because you're trying to get kind of a Jekyll and Hyde out of these bikes, of something that you want to sit on all day long and cover big distances with, and yet you want it to light up your world. You want it to float your boat. You want it to give you some sort of reward, some fun. The KTM definitely ticks the second part of that really, really well. It's a little bit less comfortable than the others. It's taller than the others. Now, that is a thing that we really found trying to turn the bike around on some of the narrow roads that we were on. For me, 32-inch leg, even with the seat in its lowest position, I find that it's very difficult to get a confident foot flat on the ground. The KTM has an adjustable screen, and I really like the screen on the KTM. You can adjust it with either hand. There's a wheel, rotary adjuster either side. You can do it with your left hand or your right hand, and it raises the screen up and down. It's got multiple positions, and it works really well. In terms of a dash, we've got this portrait mounted touch screen on the KTM that basically eclipses the other two in terms of its usability. Because it's a touch screen, you can actually jab with your finger, even in thick winter gloves, to go through menus, trips, suspension adjustment, whatever you want to adjust on there. But we're talking tech, and we're talking to KTM. And we do still have some questions in this department. It's thrown up some error codes for us. They clear once you stop the bike, turn it off and on again in the typical IT way. And nothing has actually failed on it. It gave us a warning about preload. It gave us another warning about ride height. But to wrap up, the KTM is raw, it's engaging, it's everything that a KTM should be. So that brings us to the order, and this really is difficult. I've said before, whatever I say now is going to be controversial, because I know some of you guys are firmly in the BMW camp, some of you will be firmly Ducati, and some will be firmly KTM. But we do have a pecking order, and I'm going to start in third place, and it is going to be the KTM, simply because it's a bit more one-dimensional than the others. If it does everything that you expect a KTM to be able to do. It will cover distances, it will go wherever you want it to go, but it will wear you out getting there. One positive facet to that, though, is how instantly agreeable the KTM is when you get on it. It comes to you straight away. Even though it's that hard, raw edge, that refined rawness that I've spoken about, it comes to you straight away, and you can instantly get on with the KTM, as long as you're prepared for it to be a KTM. So to find our ultimate winner, it is even tighter because of the different things that these bikes offer. The BMW is supremely capable. It's evolved into an incredible bit of machinery that it's got the paralever, it's got the telelever, it's got the shaft drive, and there's so much less faff involved in the ownership of it that it's really difficult to say anything negative about it. The Multistrada, it's got its superbike DNA, it's got the Ducati DNA, and there is something about this bike that can't fail to hit the right spot if you're any kind of petrol head at all. So, while I know that the GS is so hugely popular, we know it's a massively popular bike, but it's just that bit of sparkle. It's that extra bit of character, that extra bit of sports bikeness, and I know that's not going to appeal to anyone, but this is my personal opinion of how I feel about this bike, is that the Ducati just takes the win. Just. At the end of the day, some people like tea, some people like coffee. Me, I'm going to be riding home on the Multistrada, because this is the bike for me that really sums up everything about the big road adventure bike class. Thanks for watching. Do leave a comment below if you've got something to say. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out MCN in print every Wednesday and online for everything motorcycling. Can I eat this cake now?